Fast Enough Podcast welcomes you to this time slice. This is me, Alan Queen, and on this podcast, we will be talking about all the things related to speed or motion. Given that the Earth is in motion around Sol, which is in motion around the center of the galaxy, and also that the universe is expanding, basically everything is in motion in some frame of reference. That is just an excuse for me to talk about anything and everything in the multiverse. In all of the multiverses. We will kick off this pilot episode by talking about the Flash. The superhero Flash. The fastest man alive. He runs really fast. Well, he also throws lightning bolts and phases through objects and time travels. That last part. The time traveling part. That is my expertise. That's what intrigues me the most. Is how his speed affects the reality and the flow of time. Before we start, here is a spoiler warning for the CW Flash, which I'll be referring to. It's a good show. It's an alright show. The season 1 and season 2 were pretty good. And after that, it goes a bit, it slows down, which is ironic. First things first, we will explore how speed affects the flow of time. In the most basic and the nuance-free, math-free explanation is this. Time moves slower for objects at high speeds. That's it. If you're moving fast, time will be slow. For you. In other words, if you are traveling really fast, to you, what may feel like 5 seconds, to someone who is standing still and observing you, for them it could feel like 10 seconds. And as your speed increases and approaches the speed of light, which is the limit of speed, you can't go above the speed of light. So as one's speed approaches the speed of light, time moves slowly for them relative to the people who are not moving. So, a person moving at the speed of light, for them, if 5 seconds have passed, to someone who's not moving, years would have passed. So, technically, in a way, the person moving in high speeds is traveling to the future faster than anyone else. Because their time is slower compared to the time of everyone else. So, for an observer, if 10 years pass, and for the person moving in speeds, only 5 seconds have passed. So, if he gets in the spaceship, let's say, which travels at the speed of light for 5 seconds, and when he gets on is the year 2022, for him, when he comes out, he will feel that he just spent 5 seconds in the spaceship, but when he comes out, he sees that the world has moved to 2032. These are just example numbers to give a point. But, this is what is termed as time dilation. And this is how we can technically travel to the future. Right? If you are just moving at your normal speeds, you are basically traveling to the future faster than anyone else. The only difference is that in your normal speeds, which would be 1 meter per second if you're walking or something close, the amount of time dilation you are experiencing is extremely small enough to not have any practical difference in your day-to-day life. So that was traveling to the future. Now how would we travel to the past? This is where we'll have to take the first of many suspension of beliefs. We will assume that the speedsters like the Flash, they are beings who are not slaves to the unidirectional flow of time like we are. We, mortals, can only experience the flow of time in one direction, which is from the present to the future. But speedsters, like the Flash, they can move in forward direction, which is present to the future, and in the backward directions as well. So from present to the past. Let us think of time as a one-way road where going back is not physically possible, at least not for us mere mortals. For speedsters, these rules don't apply. In the episodes 15 and 16 of the first season, Barry Allen, the Flash, travels back in time. He goes back one day in time. How he does this is by reversing on the one-way road of time. Reversing, not making a U-turn and going back. This is important because while reversing, what he experiences is that there is no past version of himself, just him living the day for a second time. Barry time travels like this, or more accurately, reverses time, again in the Arrow Season 4 Episode 8. Now Barry can also travel back in time in the second way, which was the U-turn and loop back method, which is exactly what he does in Season 2, Episode 17, where he goes back a few months, but this time there is a past version of himself. So at that point, there are two Barrys. One, the Barry who came from the future, and one, the Barry for whom that moment of time was the present. Now let's gather what we learned here. We need to classify these two different ways of time traveling. Mortal beings like us, we are three-dimensional beings who experience 3.5 dimensions. The 3 dimensions being the spatial dimensions of length, breadth, and depth, and the half dimension of the time, which is just in the forward direction, from present to the future. Therefore, reversing time would mean to be able to go back in time. So beings who are able to reverse time can travel in both directions, forward and backwards. Therefore, beings like the Flash or other speedsters experience 4 dimensions. The U-turn and looping back method involves leaving the current time stream or the time road, keeping consistent with our example, going back and then joining the road again. Now this involves the 5th dimension. Since we have observed Barry and a few other speedsters do both of these methods, it suggests that all these speedsters are 5th dimensional beings, or at the very least, someone who can move in the 4th and the 5th dimensions. In Season 2, we also get introduced to the concept of time remnants, which are copies of yourself, but being used as expendable pawns. Zoom, the principal antagonist, tells Barry that he went back in time and convinced his past self, who we are going to call past Zoom, to come along with this Zoom, who we'll call the now Zoom. However, the past Zoom gets killed by the now Zoom because of reasons which are not relevant for our discussion. What is relevant, however, is the question that if the past Zoom died, how is the now Zoom alive? This is one of the points where a lot of time travel fiction fails to be consistent. It's because they don't account for, get this, the 6th dimension. I'll explain how. The now Zoom is alive because the past Zoom is from a different timeline, was brought to the now Zoom's timeline by traversing through the 6th dimension. So in the 5th dimensional timeline of the past Zoom, he will never return as he was killed by the now Zoom in the now Zoom's timeline. Therefore, for the characters in the past Zoom's timeline, Zoom would simply have gone missing. In the Season 2 finale, Barry creates one of his own time remnants, who helps the now Barry. What would have happened is that now Barry would have gone to the past and convinced a past Barry to travel with now Barry through the 6th dimension into the now Barry's timeline. Yes, this does mean that the past Barry's timeline would not have any Flash, which is a tragedy, and it gives that much more weight to the Season 2 finale. And it would have meant a bit more if the showrunners showed it that well. Like, when I saw the show for the first time, I was extremely confused. That what happened, who's the time remnant, how do they work? Because the show didn't explain. I mean, they tried to explain it, but they just it was kind of a hand wavy. In my opinion, they should have showed us that how impactful the death of the past Barry, a time remnant, was. Because that Barry sacrificed not only his own life, but also the safety of his own timeline, just so that one instance of Barry could defeat Zoom. We do have an elephant in the room. How did Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash from Season 1, get erased from existence when Eddie Thawne, his ancestor, shoots himself. Reverse Flash was from a different timeline in the 6th dimension, so he shouldn't have been affected by Eddie dying. But he did die. Or he did get erased from the existence. This is a mystery for another day, as I'm running out of time to publish this episode. Next episode, we will discuss the Flashpoint and its ramifications. We will see how it adds to our theories on 6-dimensional time travel. And we will get that episode faster than you think. For now, go run.